We're going to talk about the QuBit Bloom, and I'm going to try to cover everything that it does in 10 minutes, so let's get started. This is the rate knob, let's turn it up. And you can tell already we have some pretty interesting stuff going on, like slew. So, let's talk about it. To change, and we have a 4-step sequence going. To change the length of the sequence, hold shift and turn the length knob. Cool. And that's how you change any of these actions. And there are actions written above each encoder: length, scale, order, pattern, divide, multiply, slew, ratchets, and notes. That's length. Hold shift, turn the length knob to change it. And this is 32 steps. So if I turn this all the way up, these lights here lets you know where you are in the sequence. So this would be the first 8 notes here, second 8 notes, third, and fourth. So let's turn it back down. We're gonna have 4-note sequence. That's how you change length. Scale, okay. Same thing, hold shift, turn the knob. You can see we're in the 3rd setting. Let's go to the first one. So the first setting is chromatic. Second one, major. Third one, minor. Major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, harmonic minor, whole tone, and unquantized. So let's go back to minor, and that's the scale knob. That's all it does. Oh, I haven't talked about how to change notes. To change notes, you just turn each knob. To change the gate for each note, you click and turn. And I'm going to open the filter so you can hear that. You can see if you open the gate a lot, it ties a note to itself, so it almost kind of can't hear it as well. So if I turn it back down. Okay, and now we're on to order. Order is the order of the notes. So let's hold shift and turn the order knob. Now we're going backwards, and these lights let you know. This is pendulum mode, forward and backwards. And the last one is random. So we're gonna go back to forward, let it go. That's the order knob. Pattern. So we have this pattern. Say I wanted to save this pattern. Hold shift, turn the pattern knob. So you can see there are all these. There are 8 different entries I could choose from. So for this pattern, I want to save it in the first slot. I would just, as I'm holding shift, hold down the pattern knob. It'll blink. Now that's saved there. To load a different one, just hold shift, turn the pattern knob, and select a different spot, and click the encoder again. So now that's a second pattern that I've saved. Move back to the first one. Move back to the second one. That's loading and saving and moving around in patterns. Pattern knob. Divide and multiply. Hold shift, turn it. That's multiplying it as I turn to the right, and dividing as I turn to the left. That's that knob, divide, multiply. Slew, this is global slew. Hold shift and turn the slew knob. And you quickly enter a sort of Willy Wonka type hell landscape. So let's turn that back down. Global slew. Ratchets. Let's hold shift and turn the ratchet knob. And you can see each note is being played 3 times. And I would call that note repeat, not ratchets, but you know, it's interesting nonetheless. And this does a firmware, so I guess QuBit could update this and maybe have both features. So let's turn ratchets back down. And we're on to notes, and notes acts a little different than the rest of these knobs. Notes, if I click and turn, nothing happens. But if I click and tap, you can see this light starts blinking, and we've entered this kind of looping mode. Here, let me turn the length of the steps up to 16. So let's exit that mode again. So you can see we have 16 steps. First set, second set, first set, second set. But if I click and tap notes, that light starts flashing, and we don't exit out of the first part of the loop. We're stuck in the first part of it. It's looping, and we can... It's good to hear just a specific section of your pattern if you want to just hear that and loop that over and over again to edit it. This mode is great. Again, you just tap or hold shift and tap notes to enter and exit. So to exit, you can see it moves on. So enter again. So now we're in the first part of this looping mode, the first section of the sequence. To move to the next section, you hit the reset button. So now we're in the second sequence, or the second part of the sequence. So this would be, I guess, 9 through 16. And you can edit these notes. Just good for looping a certain section of your sequence. So exit out, hold shift and hit the notes. Stops blinking. Okay, let's move on to per step stuff. Per step ratchets. Hold shift, tap ratchets. Blinks again. It's the same sort of functionality. We're in the second part of the sequence. If I wanted to move to the first part, just tap this to move through the pages. So say I want to add ratchets to this step only. Let's add 3. And that's how you can do the same thing for any knob. And it lets you know how many ratchets you're going to have, these lights. So this is going to have 2 and this one's going to have 3. So to exit out, hold shift and hit ratchets again. Stops blinking. And it continues to move through the sequence. So let's change the length back down. Cool. Alright, and that is... Oh wait, no, let's talk about per step slew. Hold shift and hit slew. Tap it. Blinks again. It's the same sort of functionality. To move through, you hit the reset button, but I want to stay in the first part of the sequence because it's technically only 8 notes, even though we have those ratchets that are making it longer. So let's add some slew to this note. Nice. Okay, to exit out, hold shift and hit the slew knob. Stops blinking. Cool. Alright, so I've talked about literally all the functionality that comes out of these knobs here. This is the root knob, which helps you transpose things, and it's got a patch in so you can modulate this. So let's change the length back down to 4. And let's go into the per step ratchets and turn everything down. So we just have 1 note per step. And okay, we've made it through this whole section. We're done. And we've talked about the root knob also and how that can transpose things. So, oh, did I get out of the ratchet mode? If that's blinking, you're in some sort of mode. So to exit, hold shift and hit whatever knob. And now, where are we? Let's talk about channel. So this is a 2-channel unit. So I'm just sequencing one thing right now, which is a very simple VCO by 2HP. But if I wanted to sequence something else, hit the channel button and you can see it turns green. All the lights turn green to let you know which channel you're on. So I'm on the second channel. And I have something going here. I don't know if it's going to sound good, but let's open up the filter. So this second sequence is sequencing my mutable plats. This is the beehive. It's a clone of plats, but it's 8 HP. Nice. Cool. So all the functionality I just talked about is per channel. So if I change something on one channel, they're independent of each other. So that's literally everything about these knobs, and we haven't even talked about mutation, branches, and path, and those are the things that modulate your sequence to the nth degree. So let's talk about those. Okay. So, for the sake of just talking about these knobs, let's just move back to channel 1. And let's turn up the mutation. And you can see that the sequence just starts to change. It is related to the sequence we had before. It's in the same scale, but notes start to get differentiated and octaves change. So the higher you turn the mutation, the more your sequence will change. So if I turn it back down, it is not the original sequence. And so you would think it would be destructive, but it's not. It can be, like we could just stick with this if we wanted, but we can also go back to our initial sequence by holding shift and hitting reset, which is awesome. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about branches. So we have this sequence. Let's turn up branches. So it's a 4-note sequence, but now it's playing 8. And that's because we've created a branch off of our original trunk. And it's basically like creating a second sequence out of your first. It's based on your first, but it's a new sequence. So we have 8 notes going now, because there are 2 branches, and this is a 4-note sequence. But say I gave it 3 branches. So now it's a 12-note sequence. And this can just go. That's why I say that this is, as it's titled like a 32-step sequencer, that's almost misleading in a good way. Because with branches and with mutation and path, you can get so many more steps out of this thing per channel, and it is 2 channels, so everything is times 2 and independent. So let's go back to just 4. Cool. That's our original sequence. So let's add 2 branches and then change the path. So this is a completely different path. It's the path that the notes take through the sequence. So the more branches I have, the more paths are available. And just look at that. Oh my gosh. That's why I say this module is deep and not deep at the same time. It's very intuitive, but it's incredibly musical and deep in terms of capabilities. Okay, so I've turned everything down. And that's branches, path, and mutation. And those in combination with each other are just so crazy. And it's so cool that you can mutate something. And then let's go back and listen to what our sequence has become. Different. And to change it back to our original sequence, holding shift and hitting reset. I just think that's so cool that we can change it so much and then just come back to our original sequence. And everything, like I'm saying, is times 2 for 2 channels. We could do all the same things on this channel while the other one was playing and not being mutated at all, or changed or modified. And as you can see, all these have patch points, which can be modified by LFO. I could send LFO into mutation or branches or path, or even the root. Or also the rate has a modulation input. It has an out down here for channel 1, and an out for channel 2, and a gate for channel 1, and a gate for channel 2. Very straightforward. So the last knob is the clock out. It also has a clock in if you want this to be sequenced externally. I'm trying to think if I didn't cover anything, but I think that's pretty much it. So let's bring up our second channel. This thing is sick. Thank you, QuBit. And thank you for watching this video. If you want me to do more videos, leave a comment or subscribe. I'm going to try to do more of these videos in the new year. It's part of my resolution. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this has helped you. And comment if there's anything that I missed, or if there's anything else that you would like to see. And thanks. Fone.